This is our first meeting of several to go over the budget. Real exciting stuff. And we have got three unexpected budget transfers we're going to go ahead and do before we get into our agenda, if there's no objection. And the first being for other public health and welfare to provide additional funding for autopsies for the remainder of the year. Ms. Nolan, you
Yes, I'll do it. And we're requesting $60,000 right now. We don't have sufficient funds to pay the next bill and an estimate for the next 2 months. $60,000 unassigned for autopsies.
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan, any questions or discussion? I don't think we have a whole lot of choice on paying for the autopsies.
So this year we'll have the highest we've ever had on autopsies that we've had to pay. This is another way to look at it.
Maybe I'd have to spend all of that 60.
Yeah, I mean, last month was a high month, so maybe the other ones won't be.
And the lowest month, I think, was 16,000, and that was just 1 month. And other months were normally 25 to 30.
No further discussion, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bob?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
I can abstain.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes,
It's going to pass.
motion passes. We've got, Ms. Street, while you're up, we've got a budget amendment for risk management we're going to do before we come back to you. We're not doing your budget yet, we're doing
Right,
the
just
budget
the amendment.
amendment.
Gotcha.
So as long as you were standing right there.
Thank you. Okay, so I have requested a budget amendment to move $3,000 from travel to office supplies. This is basically to allow us to upgrade our Microsoft Office that we're currently using to 2013.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner P. Any questions or discussion?
Okay. I'm illiterate on this to a degree. What is not backward compatible? And that's what we're trying to do.
So what happens right now is we have multiple people in our office on different versions of Microsoft Office. If I get a Excel spreadsheet,
Thank you.
thank you.
Are you satisfied with
Yeah,
that?
I'm satisfied.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it didn't say that. It said backward compatible. That's just what I got.
We got a whole row of computer people.
Yeah.
We can drop down the screen and get some diagrams.
No further questions, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bob?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you. Don't go far.
I won't.
OIT, you have a budget transfer, Mr. Roberts.
We'd like to transfer $50,000 from our 709 data processing equipment line item into our 317 data processing services line item to let us finish out some of our monthly and annual service type subscriptions items that are in the 317 line item. One of those items is a $43,000 piece that is for 3 years of Sophos antivirus, and it's our antivirus protection for the entire county. And as you'll see in our budget presentation later tonight, there's a bit of a shift away from OIT or IT in general, building giant servers where everybody puts everything. It really is kind of a sign of the times in terms of the cloud, that many of the cloud services do end up being more of a 317 type of line item. So this is crept up through the years and crept up here at the end of this budget year to the point that we cannot do that without going ahead and moving some of that money out of 709 and into 317. We contemplated trying to do just a 1-year commitment on the 3-year Sophos antivirus, but the cost break that they give you for doing multiple years is substantial, and this will give us a whole additional year paid for the $43,000 instead of us paying 21 something for just 1 year, and which would have been times 3, if that makes sense. So this seems to be in the best interest of the county to amend this and go ahead and take care of this. And again, you'll see in my budget presentation later that we have additional monies in 317. We've actually reduced 709 by about this amount in our request next year.
Commissioner Pete?
Brian, you said this is for all the general, it said, does that include the sheriff's and?
Actually, no,
the
that is the only, the sheriff's office is the only department that's not covered by Sophos antivirus, and that was during those separations that occurred several years ago.
But they're the only group that's not?
That's correct.
Other than the schools?
That's correct, that's correct.
Okay.
Every single PC in every single office has Sophos antivirus on it, and that is audited. The state comptroller's office actually goes around and confirms that that some type of antivirus is available on those machines, and this antivirus routinely catches problems that would have, fallen through the cracks and caused
So this guarantees we're not going to be hacked?
Well, it significantly reduces the possibility of being hacked, and certainly when you don't do this type of due diligence, you certainly make yourself a target, because if you don't have the fundamentals in place, then you're opening yourself up to a wider array of lower level, broader based threat vectors.
Well, do these guys offer any kind of assistance if you are hacked, or assurance or remittance if it slips through their firewall? And
Yes. Now, if we want to have a conversation about all the protections in place,
I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth. That's what I'm after here.
this is one component in our cybersecurity portfolio. It's just one piece. It's kind of it's on the desktop PC itself, which is kind of the final line of defense. There's several layers, some of which I don't even want to talk a whole lot about
Then please don't.
that precede this, but this is your very last line of defense. If it made it through your firewall and made it through the other protections that we have in place, you end up, and it does make it to that PC and someone opens up something or otherwise execute code on that PC, this detects that and shuts it down at that point. So it's more of a last line of defense than a umbrella, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, reason, maybe it's just fresh on my mind. I know some of the companies I've worked for in the past will frequently get hit with, like an email. I think there was one about a week or two ago that was going around and that had to do, tied it in with your Gmail account. And we all know about the presidential problems that we had over email servers. So I just want to know that these guys are going to be capable of taking care of this.
This is really a product, and it's updated automatically on every county employee's machine, whether they know it or not. They don't have to take any action. At home, sometimes it'll pop up and ask if you want to update your virus protection. This is doing it in the background without the need for them to participate or be concerned about it themselves, which is good, because it's not subject to negligence or just someone getting busy and not doing it. If we want to dig in, we can go a little further, Commissioner, but you have to have virus protection on every machine, and this is probably the second, or I think this is the third type of virus protection that we have used through the years. And we used Trend Micro at one time, we used Symantec, and we've found Sophos to be very reliable for us, and we haven't seen things slip through the cracks. Keeping in mind we have a representative sample of 1,000 PCs roughly out there every day that are subject to getting hit by viruses, and that have not, due in part to this piece being in place. So we're pleased with Sophos antivirus protection. It served us well. It doesn't get the test that it would get if it didn't have these other kinds of defenses in place before it goes that final notch. Because at home, really all you've got is yourself, that virus protection yourself. But is that answering? Is that responsive?
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
You said the sheriff's department's not on it and the schools are not on it, that's right?
Not on this,
This.
right, this, all of them, of course, have virus
Absolutely.
protections of their own source.
I'm just curious, you said there's a price break at the 3-year mark. Would there be a price break if we brought those other two departments in? I mean, even if they were all three their own contract, is that anything that you've had a conversation about?
This price break is more due to the term, more due to the length of the term that you commit, and I think less about volume.
Okay.
Less about volume. That said, you know, there's almost always a volume cost break
Right.
at some point. Aaron, is this off state contract, or how do we?
It is, I'm sorry, this particular Sophos is not on state contract, it's on the national IPA. And the price break occurs at 1,500 seats. I think you end up saving like $2.50 per seat. And then the next price break is, I think, $6 a seat, and that's at the $4,000 level, or 4,000 seat level, sorry. So if we had 4,010 licenses, or one license even, 4,001 licenses, then we would get a $6 per, I think $6 or $8 per seat break.
And of course, you're looking at a 3-year renewal. We don't know where they're at in their renewal, or even if there's a particular program that they use, but it just might be a conversation that's worthwhile for you to have, to see where are they on their antiviruses, and just see if it's anything we can take advantage of.
Well, that's a good suggestion, particularly for the sheriff's office. Board of Education typically, and maybe they would speak to this, typically get an educational discount that is
Right.
far
Beyond.
steeper than any discount we can get as local government or private sector. And it wouldn't surprise me to find that they're having that packaged by the state in some way through other more advantageous channels. But certainly we'll talk to the sheriff's office to see if consolidation would be advantageous. Certainly will. Good.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Check. Repeat. Okay, any further questions or discussion? Call her up.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Dragan?
Yes.
Commissioner Pete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed. Okay, now we can dive into the 2017-18 budget review. And our first on the list is community learning with Dr. Payne. I don't see him in the audience. Do you want to move past him and come back to him, or just go ahead and do him? He's probably going to say he accepts the mayor's recommendation. That's what he always says.
Well, because the mayor just higher than what he asked for, so.
Maybe, I don't know, Lisa, how you want to do
I
this?
mean, his is such an easy budget.
I understand, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about, do you want to give some sort of overview on our wage and salary tables,
Okay.
et cetera?
We can, but his is not a part of it, and that's really not a part of it. It's not till we get to there.
Okay. You're going to do it down there?
Yeah,
All right, let's go then.
yeah.
We're on page number 8, how about you?
All right.
It's really a continuation budget for them. I mean, you can see,
It's being tab 2.
it's under tab 2.
I understand, page 8.
8 of 43, 51,900.
Other general administration, okay.
Got a question to ask right now.
Okay.
We ask it every year, why can't we put our table of contents and what it says in the book, call them the same thing? One says other general administration and the other says community
Community
learning. I can handle community learning, but I'm sure other general administration is what's correct, right?
The other general administration is the correct title of this account, of this function.
This is a cheat sheet,
But
basically.
you don't know what that is, that's community learning.
That's community learning.
That's our school book there.
Yeah.
If your table of contents in the front does have community learning on it at 51,900, so see that.
Okay, this is, as Lisa was going to say, just a continuation budget. The same number of people involved there. It's a $10,000 increase, and there's really nothing else there to really tell you that's significant change. There's no change, basically. So that's the recommendation, $295,160.
How many students would typically run through there?
I'd say it's 10 to 12 typically, and sometimes it gets a bit more than that, but if they graduate 12 or so, that'll probably be about the norm. Graduation's coming up soon, a few days.
Okay, next weekend. I'd like a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Baum? If it's okay with everybody on these, we'll just do a voice vote instead of a roll call vote. I think we do that usually at this time of year, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Or you can buy me dinner sometime. We're moving on to Board of Equalization. Mr. Mitchell will be on page 1.
So you're going to have to
Bounce around.
bounce around because I put my stuff in the order that was on our little
Account structure.
calendar, and it's not in that order anymore. Okay, if I need this other stuff. All right, so let's, Board of Equalization is on page 1, and my recommendation is $27,150. Mr. Mitchell asked for a bit of money more for board member fees, and he asked for, that's really the only thing that's any difference in consultants at $8,000. We left that's a bit increase because he thinks he's going to have more requests to come before the board. So, but we spent $12,000 and I recommended $15,000. I don't know, last year they didn't spend hardly any of their money. Of course, it was an off year, I suppose, but my recommendation is $27,150.
And if he runs short, we will be willing to listen to the...
Absolutely, but we'll have to. If he needs any more meetings to handle these people, we will cover that.
For curiosity, what, in 2014, what was it? For
I should have brought that book.
13, 14, that was when it been, because this is going to hit June 1st, isn't it? It's,
June 1st
2018.
is when it hits, and let's see.
It depends what happens. Right.
No, let's see here. It's 13, 14.
Let's see.
Looks like it was 20,930 in 13 and 14.
13, 14, now we are talking about the board
Board fees.
fees.
Board of Equalization.
Okay, that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was county commission, I was the wrong one.
6,700 is what we spent in 13, 14.
So 15,000 should be enough.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Well, we usually ask
Request is
Mr. Mitchell, are you in agreement with the mayor's recommendation?
Well, given the market trend in Davidson County, we had a 37% increase. We're having record numbers coming in, including in Rutherford County. I know that we can come back before the board to ask for more money, but that might not give us time to get the money in order to pay the people. It might. I would just hate to have to come back and ask for more money.
I think we'd be very receptive to that request if it came back to us. You know, you would be some distance into the process.
Yeah.
I think you'd be able to see it if you knew your numbers were coming in. So
Yeah.
people have to schedule these.
Well, next
You know.
year, we will have quite a few because there's going to be a pretty substantial increase in the values. We've picked up, just in the first 5 months of this year, since the first of 2017, we put on an additional $223 million at assessed value on the books. And we put on 2,200 parcels. So we're working hard to get everything picked up.
So I take it you're going to accept the mayor's recommendation under protest to some extent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not as hopeful as I was, but
Yeah. Mr. Schaefer, is your motion still good?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the mayor's recommendation. Do we have a second? Mr. Jernigan, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Property assessor, page 11.
Okay. He's in two pieces, the property assessor plus the reappraisal, and you almost,
I almost have to take them as one.
you sort of have to take those as one.
Especially when it's hard comparing to the prior year because there's some shifting of positions
Yeah,
as
that's-
well in this.
I think they've moved a couple of people from the property assessor to the reappraisal. I'm not sure about all that, Lisa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knows more about that than I do.
Well, the reason that we did that was because the personnel actually belong to the reappraisal budget, because the reappraisal budget is the budget that the municipalities cost share with us. So by making sure that they're in the proper budget line, it actually saves the county taxpayer money because they're being reimbursed by municipalities. So that's why there was a shift of the personnel from one owner to the other, to take into account what the actual jobs were that they were doing so we could justify the reimbursement.
But in
So-
total, all the bodies are there.
Okay, so,
And there is a request for an extra person in the reappraisal budget.
and let's sort of review all of this together. And independent of what we just said about moving these two people over, this, we're not going to fret about that. That's done, and that's in this recommendation. The only thing that I'm not agreeing with as far as my recommendation is adding that one person, the reappraisal. So let me just sort of refresh your memories about where we are. Mr. Mitchell, a few years ago, has exercised his right to not be covered under our salary plan. So all the commission can do is decide how many positions he needs and how many dollars that's going to be appropriated to fund those positions. All right. The state statute that he's chosen to operate under says that he gets one position for every person after the first 4,500 parcels, another position for every 4,500 parcels. They've got something a little less than 108,000 parcels, which after the first 4,500, that gives them, under that statute, 23 additional positions. They have 30 positions now. Now, that's the primary reason I don't think they should have another position. Secondly, Mr. Mitchell has publicly announced how many dollars he's turned back in for several years, which is commendable, which is a couple of $1 million according to him, which 85% of his budget is salaries. So all the money he's turned back in is because positions weren't filled, weren't needed apparently. We did eliminate 3 positions a couple of years ago, whenever that was. I'm not sure about that, but there have been even 2 vacant positions all of this year. I think maybe they may have filled them just now, I'm not sure, but I know they were vacant in February and March, which again says we've had positions available and now we need to fill those 2 plus a third one. Just doesn't pass the reasonableness test in my judgment. So that's the reason I haven't recommended, I don't approve anything, I haven't recommended that additional person in the reappraisal program. And the only other 2 things I've changed nothing else as far as recommendation on the property assessor. The only other 2 things are on the reappraisal. On the postal charges, he's asked for $58,000 and I've recommended 50. And under data processing equipment, I want to make a note there that the $5,000 that he's recommended is actually $34,000. In other words, we've changed that to reflect the fact that he's taken the RFPs to purchase some additional software that will save potentially. If we spend the $34,000, we should get a substantial savings in that postal charges. So I don't think $8,000 is too much there. If this thing works like hopefully he thinks it will, then that $50,000 on the other contracted services on line 399 may be even too much, but it be that as it may, I'm not going to fret about that part of it. So therefore, that's basically where I am. My recommendation on the property assessor is $1,167,799, and the recommendation on the reappraisal is $1,197,670, and the monies on the deputies in both cases I think we've added
One and three
one
quarters.
step increase. There's a 1.75% additional money for all the positions that he currently has, including the vacant positions.
Mr. Mitchell, what are your thoughts on the mayor's recommendation?
It's inaccurate.
So you do not accept the mayor's recommendation?
No, I don't, and would like to reserve the right, if it's not approved, we're talking about a difference of less than $80,000 in an announced budget year where 28 positions are being added. Just to refresh you, now the reason that we don't just go and fill any position as it comes open with the first body that walks in off the street is because there's a certain amount of skill and judgment that is required when selecting an appropriate person. So we don't just fill it. We make do and we concentrate in until we find the right person. That does take some time, especially when we hire a new person and then we lose one to the state because we don't pay enough. Last year, we put on over $244 million in new property value. We did it with 6 fewer employees than we had 12 years ago. Because at one time, we had 36 people in the office. Just this past year, we reviewed over 37,000 properties as part of our revaluation program. We do a third of the county each year. Over the last 5 years, we've returned $1.95 million back to the general fund. If we don't need it, we give it back. We don't waste it and fill up the budget. That tends to be something that happens a lot. Our budget as recommended and adopted has gotten smaller each year over the last 3 years. We haven't increased the budget, we have actually decreased our budget. 2 of the last 5 years, our percent increase has been much less than the growth of the county general fund. That was the first 2 years. One of those was a reappraisal year. In the first 5 months of 2017, we've had an increase in real property assessments put on the books for taxation at $223,646,895. That equates to $5,993,736 of taxable revenue to the citizens. Now, we do have over 108,000 parcels. Not every person in our office is an appraiser to go out in the field, and the statute doesn't say employees in the office, it says deputies, of which we have 2. It's an antiquated statute. The Attorney General has ruled that that statute no longer is applicable. So my request is a very modest request. It's actually $161,000 less than the approved reappraisal budget by this commission in 2013 and 2014. I don't think it's being unreasonable. I do not believe we're extravagant with our money and frivolous. And I respectfully submit my budget as I have presented it.
Mr. Mayor?
And I'd also like to point out that we spent a substantial amount of money for a new piece of software called Pictometry. That
It works for reviews, Mr. Mayor, and it was a budget we had to give up 2 positions in our office for you to approve.
Well,
I don't think we need to revisit that because it's not
Let's
your
each other take each other's time. Right now, the mayor's got the floor, if we don't mind.
well, we know full well the whole purpose of that was to be able to have these filers that would get the changes and additions, et cetera, noted, and people wouldn't have to travel as much and they could do a lot more from the office. I believe that is working. And obviously, if we've been able to turn all this money back in, we didn't need all the positions we had, or we would have filled them. We haven't even filled these positions just maybe until recent days, these 2 that's been on the books all this time. So 2 more plus 1 is 3 all of a sudden. I don't see the rationale for that.
No, sir, that's not accurate because it's not the same 2 people. We have had turnover. We would fill a position and then another position would come open. It is not the same 2 positions.
These 2 positions appear to be appraisers.
They are appraisers. We've lost 2 appraisers. We just hired 2 appraisers.
So they've been vacant all of this whole time?
No, they have not, sir. That is incorrect. Yeah, they have not been vacant.
Okay.
We have had a vacancy. It is not the same one.
Okay.
We can't go out there.
Anyway, it's up to you.
We've heard the mayor's recommendation, we've heard Mr. Mitchell's side. Let's open this up to questions from the budget committee.
Well, I'd just make a statement. You know, I was up in that office for a while, and I know when I came, and it was in 2004, there was more than 30 people. Now, we did not have systems at that time like they've got now. They gradually came in over time. But I also know that before the 2006 reappraisal year, 2 more were added and were approved by the commission, so that it brought the department to 34. And where it got to 36 in there, I don't know, but I remember it did. And I don't, personally, since he's only got 30 people that are there, I don't see a problem with one more, because new construction, there's really only one way you can get it, and you got to physically go through the house. And it really caused problems back in the 5, 6, 7 years, because the amount of people we had, and we didn't have the automated stuff to help, which helps on a lot of other, is you were getting in, visiting people's homes after they were already in. And it's a lot different than if you can get into them beforehand, because you can get it accurate, you know, maybe have as many coming up for the Board of Equalization, because they say their appraisals are wrong, this type of thing. And you always, if there's any kind of budget increase next year, if we don't take the certified rate, you better believe you'll hear it, because the appraisals will be up. And now, the amount in new construction is coming up now as opposed to what it was several years ago. He's having this full year over 2,200, almost 2,300, which is not quite up to what it was back 10 years ago, I guess. But it's a big, significant increase over what we had in 9, 10, and 11. So that's why I can see why he's wanting it. And I think it's that person, but I think it's also up to, the mayor's got good points, and I think it's up to each one of us here to see, you know, how we vote and look at it. And personally, I'm gonna, you know, the way the motion will come out is I'm probably gonna vote against it, just for, I think, you know, we're still 5 people.
We don't have a motion yet, so we don't.
I know, but I figured it's gonna be you know, because I can see both sides on it, is what I'm saying.
And there's approximately $80,000 difference
52,259 is for the position.
between both.
No, for
If you
this,
if you take out just consider the reappraisal and appraisal budget, it's not even that much.
to add the position back, it's in total 52,259.
Mr. Mitchell, if you got the position, would it be your intent to hire immediately to fill the position?
We already have a person that we've interviewed. We had 3 good candidates, but only 2 positions. And this is the first time we've had that. We would hire an extra person if we had the position for it.
And evidently, it's your contention that this position is needed. Without the position, does it affect the accuracy of the appraisals or the
It affects our ability to
quantity
pick-
of them that can
It
be
does.
completed?
I mean, we have streamlined positions. We've eliminated 3 supervisors' positions in the last 5 years and converted those positions to lower-level staff people. So that was some of the dollar budget savings that you saw, where we didn't have a $60,000 employee, we had a $30,000 employee, because that was where the focus was needed. We were too top-heavy. So we took corrective action with that to make sure that that was corrected. Now, in a reappraisal year, we have to get everything put on. If it's going to go on the tax rolls for every year, we have to have it by September 1st, or it carries over to the next year. Now, it's critical in a reappraisal year to make sure that we get all of that property on and counted, because if we don't, it affects the tax rate negatively in the tax roll in the future. Because once that's lost, we don't get it back. That's a loss of being able to capture that revenue. You can't make it back up. So it's critical that we have the people on there to pick it up. And we can make up more. By having 1 extra person, then we would lose. So if we don't have the person, we'll do the best job we can. We always have, and we always find ways to cut corners where it's applicable. But we will not be able to continue to do the quality work that we have and get everything back. So the choice is going to be, you can be penny smart and dollar foolish, and that's what this boils down to.
You think it's
When-
possible this position could pay for itself by
Position-
increased accuracy with appraisals?
What we picked up just in new revenue for the first 4 months of this year is double what our budget request is. So it's obvious to me.
But if we adopt a certified rate, it won't be any money.
That's incorrect. Certified rates revenue neutral, and that's next year.
And,
Commissioner Schaefer?
well, I was just going to say also, if the certified rate is based on, at the end of this fiscal year, at the end of this year is what it's based on, and it's not new construction next year. So what isn't on will go on as new construction next year if they don't get it on by the deadline.
And the new
I'm just pointing that
construction-
out. That's what a lot of people don't understand that.
Could miss a year on some of that growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Doug, I was actually going to ask you, because I know what these two guys' opinion are on that statute. The statute's saying for the number of parcels we got, we need 23 positions?
Yes, sir.
Is that what I heard right? And we're asking for 30, 36?
31.
31?
They have
I
30.
mean, that's,
4 you don't count because they're in personal property, and personal property isn't a parcel. So you have to take those 4 people out immediately.
We only can go by what the statute tells us.
well, that's my
Well-
question to you is why is this statute hanging out there if we're not to look at that and use it?
It wasn't really ever paid attention to for a long time. That was never brought up until I was not familiar with it until Mitchell brought it up. And from that standpoint, and it is that personal property people, I don't remember them ever coming out in the field when I was there. That they have enough to do just trying to get those people to apply and turn in their information. And that there's a lot of, well, it's just human nature, and I won't get into that, but they drag their feet on it from that standpoint. But I never heard of that statute being paid attention to when I was over there.
But that statute was used to take themselves out.
Well,
of our salary
but
and-
we were in then, when I was there.
Yes, sir.
Kind of got to be careful about picking and choosing when you follow a statute.
Yeah.
If we use the statute for one hand and then we decide we don't want to use statute for another hand, although those may be minimum numbers on the statute, so that's a minimum you have to have.
It comes down to whether, for me personally, the feeling that I get is it's punitive and it's not based on fact.
The
That's just my
statute-
feeling.
The statute is?
No, it's budget.
But there's another thing that, because I went to our legal at one time, and I was told about the Attorney General's opinion is as good as the paper it's written on until it's challenged in court.
It's an opinion.
And I don't think any of us want that.
I've got one problem with a little bit of something you said, you already had the person for this job. I mean, this money's not even appropriated yet, and I would think we'd have to go through the process
Well, you do.
of advertising also. Let's
Well-
not be on TV saying, I've already got the person for
No.
that job, because you
We've
have
had-
to
we've
open
had
it up,
three
you could have a
good-
better person come
Well,
along.
we've had 3 good applicants,
Yeah,
and
but
the
I mean,
question that when I was asked is that would I fill it, and I said yes.
You said you already had the person.
That I've interviewed already
Yeah.
for the 2 positions.
I'm just saying, I want to make sure we do everything legally.
Oh, yeah,
proper.
sure.
We don't want to say,
Oh, no.
we are 6
I don't
weeks,
have an extra spot there
2
yet.
months, 2 months before we have this budget passed, no matter what happens with this
Right.
budget. And we don't want to have already promised somebody a position,
Oh, no, we
or
haven't
say,
done
I've got a person for this position necessarily, but.
We have
All
3
right.
people that we've interviewed, and one that we've made an offer to, and she started today, and we've got to make a decision between the other 2 right now.
Any further questions from the committee? If not, we'll entertain a motion, one way or the other.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the mayor's recommendation, except we add the employee. So whatever that the postage and whatever else that he left out, it's.
Leave the rest alone, add the
Yeah.
52 something.
59.
We have a motion?
I'll second it. I don't want to get in the habit of adding employees to departments this early, but I am aware the size of his budget has been shrinking the last several years.
We have a motion and a second.
This motion just to approve.
Approve the mayor's recommendation.
For assessor and reappraisal?
We're doing both at once, I believe, here.
Total.
And everything is according to the mayor's recommendation, except adds that one employee.
To reappraisal.
Mr.
Reappraisal.
Mitchell, do you agree with that recommendation? Or are you under protest still at this point in time?
I could accept that.
Fine. We're going to call a roll on this one, I'll tell you, so we have to have a lot of debate. Whenever you're ready. If there's no further discussion, we'll call a roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Peete?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
No. Motion passes.
Thank you.
We're ready for Human Resources. Ms. Stevenson, everybody should be on page 2.
That's on page 2, and also that's one of the ones that got corrected. So if you haven't put it in your notes,
Welcome, Sonia. How are you tonight?
How are y'all this evening?
the one that you're looking for, the total is 375,047.
I got
That's your number.
43, and I know that's, but this is one of 2, so yeah, I know I'm.
Yeah, 1 or 2, it's a scrap paper. Sorry.
Well, let me see, that's your 1 of 2 that's been replaced from the previous time. So the recommendation is $375,047. And really the only difference, I don't know, this on line item 322, my recommendation is 40, and I think she had 50, but I think we must have had some discussion about that, Sonia. I don't remember. I think she may have even agreed to reduce that. I'm not sure. That's the only reduction in my recommendation as compared to her request.
That reduction was for the evaluation and the testing line, and that's the one that we do for all the departments as far as like their MMPIs, their physicals, drug testing, all that. And the steering committee and the legislative body approved a revision to our drug-free workplace policy, and it's going to allow us to do the pre-employment screening in-house, and so that will save us, we'll go from $37.50 per test to, can be anywhere from $7 to $12, so it'll save us about $25 per test, and so I believe that we should be able to come in at that number or better.
And you
I
accept the mayor's recommendation?
recommendation, yes.
Well, that's much easier. Any questions of the committee? Or motion? Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Sonia.
You want me to do it at the end under other?
You want her to do your thing, her thing was she's up here.
That's what I was asking.
Yep. If it's okay, I think we would be
I mean, I don't mind no one statement.
well advised, but I mean, so they'll know what we're talking about here. All of these include data that she's gathered, and the salary table has been changed based on her survey. So I'd like for her to explain that so you know full well that all these numbers you're looking at, the salary table has been updated, okay?
That's why, like on hers, the numbers are higher in your recommendation
Right.
on.
Yes, some of that.
On the administrative assistant and things like that. So you've already plugged the correct numbers in.
Right.
Yes, we have.
It's not in the department request, because
But
that always
it's
comes
in the
first. and
It's
it
in the
comes-
recommendations.
So this would have been for any of the county general departments and the sheriff's office. So we did our salary survey. We surveyed 14 entities. All 14 provided information, however, 2 of the entities only provided minimum salaries and not maximums, therefore I couldn't get a median or a midpoint. So we didn't use Wilson County and Williamson County's data. They no longer have a maximum, I guess, in their salary range, so we did not use those entities. But we took all of the positions within the county, and specifically I initiated this. I did all the departments, but we were also looking at it for the public safety side of it. There's been much conversation around, some of those positions. You may remember that we did some adjustments due to emergency necessity for the paramedics and the EMTs and those type things. So salary survey was done on the rest of the entities, the rest of the departments as well. So when all the information came back, we classified it, put it into to see how much of a change, up or down. Some of the positions came back with a decline and some with an incline, increasing in pay, and then did the assessment based on that. Of the positions looked at in the sheriff's office, and I have discussed this with Sheriff Fitzhugh as well, so he is aware of this and was in agreement with these figures. In the sheriff's office, of their positions, 305 of the 438 positions that he had were reclassified into new pay grades based on the salary survey. And so right at 70% of their positions were reclassified which means they were raised up into another pay grade. The adjustments range anywhere from 3% up, in their classification in addition, so that would give them the 1.75, but the 3% would include a normal step increase. So between the step increase and the survey, they got anywhere from 3% or more adjustment. Of the other positions within the sheriff's office, the other some 133 positions, they didn't benefit from a reclassification, but they did benefit from the salary table being re-evaluated. So what happens is whenever we get a salary survey and we identify a pay grade, it will adjust every position in that pay grade. And then it also adjusts the rest of the subgrades. So we have a primary grade and a subgrade, and it adjusts all of those. And I know I'm getting into a lot of numbers, but sorry. So the rest of the positions, while they didn't get a reclassification, did get an increase. So you always want to know, well, if they didn't get reclassification, are they going to get anything? The adjustments to the remainder of the sheriff's office was anywhere between 1% and 5% increases. Even so, everybody in the sheriff's office benefited from this survey. The ones who are at a pay grade 21, of course, got a benefit of 1%, and then some of the others got a greater percent based on the classification of the pay grade itself. For the county general pieces, 187 of the 524 public safety positions were 187 of the 524 positions were reclassified. Primarily 36% of the public safety, the courts, and public health were the ones that were primarily affected by this. This accounted, the other 160 positions received an adjustment as well, anywhere from the same range, from 1% to 6%. Therefore, everybody benefited from the reclassification. Even somebody who would have been newly hired, if their position was regraded, that pay grade was regraded, they got the benefit of that, of maybe a 1% increase, or somebody who was topped out at a 21. So those are, I don't know if you have any questions for them. Okay, all right.
Okay, year before this one that we're in now, the whole table was raised, wasn't it? It wasn't raised this last year. We gave an extra 1% or something like that. That was year before, correct?
Well, we did
Cost of living increase like 1%.
but we didn't raise the whole table, but there were specific, all the positions were reevaluated.
Any position that was more than 15% under what the survey called for was adjusted.
But what I'm saying is, if we went with the pay scale, the pay plan, but then if the commission raised it 0.5% or 1% or 2%, whatever, then that raises the table, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but that was not this year that we're in now, but it was in the year before. I mean, one time recently,
I think
I
it
thought we
was
did.
Several years
years
ago.
back,
Yeah.
maybe 3 or
Well,
4.
I guess that's what happened.
We did lift the
Yeah.
table 3 or 4 years
Didn't do
ago.
anything in 16, 17. And I think,
Probably 13, 14.
oh
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, okay.
We lifted it by 1%. I think it was 2009, 10, 11. It would have been like 2011 or 2012-ish maybe. We lifted it right after, the economy was really bad in 2009 and 10, and we couldn't give increases. And then we did a salary survey after that and lifted the table. I believe it was around that time, somewhere 12, 13, something like that.
And how much, from what you just said, is that gonna cost the county with all that reclassification or a ballpark figure?
Lisa, do you have a final figure? You didn't bring that with me?
It's a little less than $1 million. It's
I
substantial.
didn't bring that sheet with
Okay.
me.
That's what I wrote down.
Okay.
%1.5 on the, a cent and a half on property taxes, what I said, roughly.
Were there increases, I know you were talking about public safety as a whole there, and I didn't catch exactly on the ambulance service, were there any other increases other than what we did here a while back?
There, we didn't look at their paramedic twos, their station managers and some of those individuals were reclassified based on what the survey said, and I think they went up a pay grade. And then there may have been some others. Most of, let's see, let me get to the public safety. So.
Well,
some
the
of
main thing I wanted to know is that we did look at them.
Yes, the
and they were
paramedic
brought
twos and the
in,
station
right?
managers did get
Because there was
readjusted too.
there was
reclassified.
concern at the commission meeting about those guys on those other levels too.
And originally, I think, it was discussed, I think during that meeting, during that budget process, that, we just moved the paramedic twos up to the same pay grade as the station manager, but to me, that just wasn't fair for somebody who was your supervisor to be in the same exact pay grade. So at that time, the body decided not to make that call and that we would evaluate this during this pay process. Well, it ended up that the survey data came up that did move them up to that next pay grade, but it also moved up the station managers and the supervisors as well, so.
Just out of curiosity, did the survey raise the EMTs and the paramedic ones
Again?
by the amount that we I mean, would it have raised them by the amount that we did on our own several months ago?
Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm
I'm
pretty
just
sure,
wondering,
I had done most
Yeah, we
of
did
it.
the right
survey,
thing.
do we do the right thing?
Yeah.
Right, I had done most of this survey before we even got that back, so let me look and see, because I know what you're saying now.
You don't have to answer it right now, I'm just curious.
You put them exactly the same, it was $130 difference for the EMTs, and for the paramedics, it's $164 difference, so we were right on the money with what we classified them at.
Sonia, I believe I heard you say that the sheriff was in agreement with this. Have you had other department heads? Have you had pushback on this, or everybody?
I
pretty much
didn't,
happy about it?
I just went to him because he was an elected official. I brought this forward to, during the budget process with the mayor and Lisa.
Has this been out enough to be getting pushback from, or feedback from department heads?
No.
No.
Okay. I was wondering what the census was going to be of the employees in the department.
Well, you included it in there because I had a couple of calls. You sent out their new revised budget, which had their new salaries in there. And so I had a couple of calls with questions, just asking what that was, but
So it's starting to get out.
it's starting to get out. I mean, we're really, a lot of it, it's kind of hard because what department heads have it. Because you don't, whatever the commission decides, you hate to put it out to the employees and say, this is it, when it may not be it.
I was just curious about if this was a morale builder, a morale hurt, or what.
Well, I would hope that it would be a
Too much,
builder.
not enough.
Yeah, major
because
builder.
every
Yeah.
single position that's on our pay table,
Get something.
in county general was touched, yes, absolutely. So it's their 1.75 plus a little. So in most
And
cases.
the table really, in essence, lifted up about 0.7%.
Or maybe a little bit more even. But, so yeah, I wouldn't think that anybody would be,
0.5%.
there was some, positions that maybe wanted to be reclassified that the data didn't show or didn't reflect that, or was not recommended or whatever. There may be some of those type situations, but all in all, the majority of the positions, like I said, 70% of the sheriff's office and I think 36% of the county general was affected by the survey, and then everybody else got something based on the adjustments from the reclassification.
Any further questions of Ms. Stevenson? I feel sure we all absorbed everything she said. A lot of numbers came my way.
There's just no easy way to relay that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Farley, try again. Election Commission. Everybody needs to be on page 3, please.
Green 4.
Okay. My recommendation is a few dollars more than his request, simply because what we've just been talking about, more or less. $909,674, and that's actually about $58,000 less than their current budget. So he might want to point out one or two things. I think the 348 on postal charges, he can explain to you why that's going up. That's just because of his convenience voting issues, I believe.
Yeah, so basically, he just stole my thunder on it. We're $58,000 less than last year's budget, or this year's budget. But yeah, as you see, a couple line items there is the postal charges is increasing up quite a bit to $85,000, and then the printing is increasing. Basically, on our new boat center, convenient boat center, we have to, by law, we have to notify. So what we're basically doing is we're householding every registered voter. So if there's 4 voters that's registered in that household, we'll send them one notice, but with 4 voter registration cards. So, but to do 100, and I think right now we're looking at 114,000 households. So that's going to put our postage up there considerably, and then the printing of the cards and that stuff to go, and also kind of listing and laying out where the vote centers are located, what sites those are. So we'll have some expenses there, but this is a one-time expense. We'll actually see the cost savings by what we're doing in latter budgets to follow. Also, too, OIT with what we're doing with the boat centers is a lot more technical, because what it does is it allows us to use the technology to do what we're doing. So in our partnership with OIT, you'll notice that the data processing equipment is actually reduced because some of the things that we're doing with technology-wise will be picked up and reflected in their budget, because it's technical equipment that not only we can use, but also other departments can use when we're not using it. So it'd be something very helpful there.
Okay, so if I write in this book here, on the postal charges and the printing, will drop next year, I can count on that, right?
But I'll make up the difference myself.
Okay.
It's so huge. I feel very. I'll tell you what. Let me say this: the postage, yes. Printing, no. Not because it really. There's no way we could ever match that, because we're having to mail to every single household.
So who's requiring this, state or federal?
The state. What it is, it was part of the law that we're the only county in the state in 2018. We're a pilot. So what they're going to do is this whole format is going to be being looked at to change the whole state process. But in order to do this, you got to notify. Okay, your precinct that you've currently been voting assigned to may not be there, but you've got 28 other options or 30 other options or whatever, however many the election commission adopts. So we're just saying, okay, explaining the process of you don't have to go to your assigned location anymore. You can go to any location in the county.
I thought they had done away with that last year, and we weren't looking at it again. I'm glad to see it.
No, it's passed, and we've just kind of been sitting on it because we didn't want to confuse voters in the August and November election showing up, at random places. So that we were kind of sitting on it until we're going through that process now.
When's our first election going to be with the vote centers?
Will be the county election in May of 2018. So we want to make sure we got plenty of funding and get all that in place. So
Almost be early voting on steroids to some extent.
That's basically what it is.
You got vote, any district can vote in any box.
The only change is election day, whereas some people vote in our office on early voting or sports com or Lane Agri Park or Smyrna Laverne. you can vote there but live in Walter Hill or Kittrell or whatever. What this allows is that you can, just like you do early voting, on election day, you've always had an assigned polling location. Now you can actually live in Eagleville, but you work in Laverne there in Interchange City, and at lunch you can go to Laverne and vote the same ballot you would on election day as if you were voting, where you lived, where you were assigned. So that technology allows it to do that.
You know, every time you send out new voter cards and all, you're going to have a rough time.
Yeah, we're actually been working this whole year, this process. So our goal is to refine it, and we're actually doing some simulated elections where we're testing our systems and some of the things that we're doing, so that way when we get to the real deal, everything's set and we know that everything's prepared, ready to go.
Do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes,
on
sir.
your budget?
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Bond. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Farley.
Thank you.
Register of Deeds, Ms. Stallbarn, how are you this evening?
Thank you.
We should be on page 4. We're already on page 4.
Okay. My recommendation is $365,237. That's a little bit more than hers because the number that I think we've come up with for the insurance is a little bit more than what she initially had put
I
down
just wanted
there.
to verify, Lisa, is that still, is that 13 employees and myself? Because we're losing that position.
You reduced one.
Yes, it does, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure, clarify that.
In other words, you don't see the employees here, you just see the benefits and other miscellaneous costs that she incurs. So it's a little less in the current budget, so that's the recommendation.
Ms. Stallbarn, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, but I wanted to add, I don't know if we can make this change now, but I think it's a reduction, so I'm betting we probably can.
Usually like
I
that.
bet you probably would. On the maintenance agreements, I renegotiated a copier agreement that we had, and it's going to be $2,470 less.
So at 19,665 will be reduced by 2,470.
Yes, just making it $17,195.
Mr. Mayor, you don't have any
No,
problem with that?
no
change?
problem with that, that's fine.
I didn't think you would.
By the wishes of the committee.
I wish she would do that for every department. But motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner P. Commissioner Allen, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got Planning and engineering. I don't see anybody with planning and engineering. Mr. Demasi was in training out of town. If he,
I think he's going to be back today.
I didn't hear where he was going.
Okay, let's see here.
That's on
What do
page
you want to do
5.
about this?
Said we move on. I mean, unless there's a reduction.
What they requested, I have recommended.
Well, I guess if there is we could pass this. If they have a problem, we could always bring it back
Yeah.
up under other
Yeah.
business at some point.
The recommendation on planning is $1,013,794. Now I have, which is a bit more than they actually asked for.
Probably because of the salaries.
Data
The salaries a little bit, plus that one
65,000.
line item back there, Lisa, 709, the data processing equipment. We've added in here this cost, I believe, of this actual piece of software for them keeping up with all their
Oh, that DP equipment.
applications.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
that's it.
that one and we'll see something very similar in building codes.
Yeah, a piece of that same type of software will be in the building codes actual budget as well. And I will tell you this, there's one additional person in that budget. I believe if we look back at the employees, I think there's one additional,
Inspector.
which page are we on?
Yeah, that was under planning. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that coming through.
A road site inspector. There's one position there that's added. into that budget.
Two to replace Bob, right?
That's right.
That's what we decided.
Yeah, you had a 30-something-year employee that was, and brought one on to mirror him for a while,
And
but
then
it's, and of course, the county's grown with it too.
the
but
number
it's-
of applications you guys are hearing and planning, and the number of subdivisions we have to monitor these road improvements is substantially increased.
Explain 334, item 3, maintenance agreements. What happened there?
Let's see,
I think, let me go look at
Was,
that.
were they going to do something?
you know,
That money moved to 709.
That's about the same amount what 709, but
I think that's what it was. I think
they had it in a different line item.
okay, get my actual work papers. Here we go.
Yes, 65,000 out of one and the other, so I would bet there. One data processing equipment, one's maintenance agreement.
334.
What's their roads?
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it moved down.
It got moved from
It
one
got
line.
moved to the 709,
She put it in the right line item, I guess.
yes. That's what.
That is that planning software.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That's,
the number is $1,013,794,
Yes.
and since they're not here, they have to accept the mayor's recommendation.
I'll make a motion to accept the mayor's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Mr. Jernigan, questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we've got stormwater, page 39. I don't realize they were on the agenda tonight. I mean, not like them not to be here. I talked to Mike Hughes earlier today about something else. He was in the office.
Okay, stormwater, there are no new people there, and that's exactly what they have requested, $243,509 with a few small differences in the payroll numbers up there that we've been discussing previously.
What are the wishes of the committee?
Question. Motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Jernigan, Commissioner Allen?
Brand new vehicle, are they that bad?
Well,
Do they travel all over the county?
they do.
Is that for
And they're,
that?
if they go to check all these streams and all of this, it's, and we have all these interns that come do this. Yes, they have convinced me that it's time for another vehicle.
Does the property assessor have any floating around over there?
They have shared already one or two with us previously. I don't think there's any more, I think.
There probably was. Okay.
In the previous, I missed it, was there a vehicle in the previous budget for that new road inspection?
Planning.
There was.
Yes, 63,098.
We got a motion on that? Yes. All right. Are you satisfied with your vehicle question, Commissioner Schaefer?
It just looks like to me like that over there, it's getting a lot of vehicles.
Well, those vehicles that they've had are in poor condition. I mean, folks, county general vehicles, many of them are past due for replacing.
No further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. County buildings. Mr. Mankin, I don't see him here.
I guess. County buildings is page 7.
Everyone didn't show up, we cut their budget 20%.
Well,
Should be on page 7.
and it continues to page 8. The recommendation is $2,495,744.50. That's basically,
Is there a new employee in that budget that I read somewhere?
there is a partial year for one
For
new
maintenance.
maintenance person to be at the new judicial building. I don't- how many-
And
how many months?
custodians.
And custodian,
And 4
And
custodians.
4 custodians to part-time to do the custodial work over there.
What about the ones, of course, the ones that are in the old judicial building will go to the new judicial building, so we'll need 4 on top of what we've
Yeah.
already got?
It'll take 4 to cover that new building, so where we get them from, whether they're current or hired, is what it's gonna take.
I mean, if somebody's cleaning the old judicial building,
And we'll still have to clean that building.
oh, we'll leave the employees behind.
No, we won't leave
don't-
behind, but somebody will still clean that building.
All right, well, I mean, we don't know what we're gonna do with that building yet. We're still
No, that's right.
waiting on the experts to tell us what we're gonna do with it.
what, on your, the sheet, it says also, as in addition to custodians, it says landscaper.
One landscaper.
So
Part-time.
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 All our landscapers are part-time, and they're getting very, very hard to
That's the
find them.
mowers.
You've heard the mayor's recommendations. What's the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve and accept the mayor's recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jurgen. Commissioner Schaefer, you got any more
Yeah.
questions?
Maybe there's a misprint on the sheet, I guess. It says 4 custodians, but over there under part PT, I assume that's part-time, it says 6.
6. I said,
So,
hold on.
Where do we see?
Did I say 4?
and they don't, can't-
Hold on, we need to.
They don't come on till April.
Under county building,
6, did it say 6? I said 4, it's 6.
6.
well, it's a total of 24,560. It's only for a few months, it's only like 3 months that we got those.
But that's this year.
Coming
What
in
happened-
April 1st.
Is that just to get it up and running? Or
It's
is
going to
it-
open on about May the 1st, so I think we've got a month or so before that to bring them over there, you know.
But it'd be perpetual, they'd
But
be all.
then they're here,
then they're here.
Next year, it's going to
It'll be a full year.
And they'll be full-time?
Yeah.
No,
No,
they'll
they'll be
be
still
full-time.
part-time.
Full part-time, but
Custodians
6
are
of them.
part-time, but 6.
Part-time year-round.
Part-time year-round.
yes.
Full part-time, that's a, I don't remember.
It's
hearing.
200,000
Full-time,
square feet
part-time.
over there.
Okay.
Well, I'm still confused on where, well, maybe the answer is that they're part-time. Maybe that's what's confusing me.
They only
Because
work
you've
with-
got people out of office spaces that'll be leaving and going to the new, or the old judicial building. If once that's decided where, and I assume that the people that are doing custodial work in those buildings would probably shift with them too.
It's possible, that's assuming we don't continue somehow to use those buildings and have to clean them. I mean,
Right. So
There
that's-
could be some
That's why
savings.
you're saying the 6 would be instead of,
No, I think the 6 is just what they think it's going to take to clean six floors, which totals 200,000 square feet.
But we've got, how many, we've got 4 floors now they're cleaning.
Yeah, but they're only about, it's only about 80, it's less than 80,000 feet over
Oh,
there.
yes,
We're
right.
we're tripling the numbers.
Yeah.
Square
Still, Tom,
footage.
then, if the custodial staff follows the departments and it all washes out, we're gonna have an empty building somewhere, hopefully.
And then
Or
we
something,
would-
and then we'll have staff left over there, so. But we have got to have growth because we're gonna need more than we had before.
That's right.
These are all part-time, I feel sure it'll all wash out, but.
Yeah, but it's
It's a
going to
little
be
confusing.
full-time in a year.
And with full-time,
But
part-time.
we,
3 months later,
they won't be full-time, they're going to be still 6
part-time.
Full-time,
part-time people
But for the
that
whole
work
year.
all year for
year
us,
salary.
as opposed to this 3 months or
They're
whatever.
like contract labor then?
they're not
No.
working 40 hours a week.
No, sir.
No.
No, okay. How big is our largest comprehensive high schools? Square footage, are they as big as this judicial building?
Jeff, how big's the high school? How big's Seward Creek?
How many square feet?
Between 260 and 300.
How many, and they have what, 4 custodians?
No, since I've been dealing with a middle school this year, our middle schools will have 5,
All right.
and and the high schools.
That's enough, okay. There's going to be more than 5.
Yeah.
Stop there.
Are they,
Full-time.
are they full-time? That's full-time.
Yeah.
That's full-time.
That's full-time.
Yeah.
Hey, some of them are there, I know, all day.
They're full-time. This is full-time.
Cafeteria and.
Well, that doesn't
We've got the
go.
judges emptying
But
their
when
waste
you-
cans. what
When you
we're-
hear 4 and it gets turned into 6, then you got to ask questions,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
But in the big scheme, it's part-time, so it's a fairly small amount of total money.
Okay.
We have got a motion to approve this budget as recommended by the mayor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Lodell, Archives, welcome. Appreciate you being here. Everybody should be on page 8.
Preservation of records. Recommendation is $178,438, and the only difference in his request is apparently the insurance number is about $7,000 less than he had initially indicated, which is about the difference between his 186 and our recommendation of 178,438.
Mr. Lodell, you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, I do.
Appreciate
I'll make a
that.
motion to approve the request. And Mr. Little's been
Thank you,
pretty good over
Commissioner
there
Shaker.
ever since he's been there.
Commissioner Baum. I don't think anybody's ever accused Mr. Lodell of being wasteful of the county tax dollars.
Frivolous.
All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Risk management, Ms. Street, welcome back. Okay, everybody should be on page 9 and 10.
Okay, and the recommendation is $1,237,900, about $10,000 more than she asked for, but again, we've had to change that insurance number, and we've had to add about $8,000 or $9,000 to that, so that's, everything else is as she has requested.
You accept the mayor's recommendation?
I do.
Appreciate that. Any questions of Ms. Street?
Motion to accept the mayor's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Melissa. Trustees, Mr. Beatty. Well, that's the first time I saw an agenda, his name wasn't at the very top.
Same comment. Wow.
I don't complain, here I am.
Be on page 12, everybody.
Okay, and recommendation is $906,010. It's just a few dollars more than what he asked for, but I think there's an adjustment or so back there in some of the benefits that have been computed to make him, so it's the same as he's requested.
You accept the mayor's recommendation?
Absolutely.
Any questions of Mr. Beatty or motions?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Speed.
Second.
Mr. Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank y'all.
Ed. County Clerk, Ms. Kroll. Welcome. 13.
Okay, $921,080 is a recommendation. That's a little less than she asked for. Let's see where that might have happened. That happened again in insurance. It's a little bit, about $8,000 different from what she had initially put down there that they had instructed her to put down there, I guess, but anyway, that's the recommendation.
I accept the mayor's recommendation.
Appreciate that.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. Not a tie, right?
And Charlie.
Everybody, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
GIS, Mr. Robertson, Ms. Harlan, everyone wants to come up? Something on page 6.
Okay. see. The recommendation is $1,667,512, which is about 6,000 more in total, but there have been a couple of changes that I guess they could call arbitrary and capricious on my part. But anyway, first of all, part-time personnel, I've recommended 20,000. They've asked for 30. I recommended 40,000 on data processing services. They've asked for 50. And after we had this discussion, somehow we've saw a need to increase that maintenance agreement from 550 to 575. I believe that Barbara and Brian were aware of that. I believe we had that discussion. So that's the recommendation. And when I looked at the budget and the previous expenditures for the current year, it didn't appear that we were quite on the track to spend as much as we had requested there in those two items that I did make those small adjustments on. So that's the recommendation.
And we accept the mayor's recommendation.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Page.
Second.
Commissioner Bond?
I have a question. On line 799, other capital outlay, there's a pretty big jump in that. What is that for?
This is being our on-year for our refly, where we capture planimetric, and also LiDAR for this year, where the state is subsidizing half of our LiDAR capture for us this year. So we're participating with the state-based map LiDAR program for this upcoming year.
Which in English is what?
It's the topography of the county.
Okay.
The state is trying to get it statewide, and they're going to subsidize half of what their cost is for the quality LiDAR that will match the rest of the state of Tennessee.
So in other words, what you're telling me is we're going to be able to see how high Walter Mountain is?
Sure, yeah. And we've captured LiDAR before, but we capture it periodically. And they actually pushed back the date. They were going to wanted to capture it in 2017, and that was too soon for us to get another LiDAR capture. And they pushed it back to 2018 just for us, so we could participate in the program.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there are no further questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Information technology.
Okay, that's
Mr. Moore's here to answer your question on this.
that's right. And that's a replacement
Page
sheet there on
14,
52,600.
Yeah, that's a replacement page.
That is a replacement page, and it's one of two again on that page.
Yep, don't pay attention to the two.
So if you found that page, then the recommendation is $2,850,164, which is a little bit more than their request of about $15,000 more. Largely, it's, again, changes to those personnel numbers as a reflection of things that have happened within the salary survey and the table, et cetera, so, which have increased those numbers a bit.
Agreement on with the mayor's recommendation on this one also.
Absolutely, we accept the mayor's recommendation.
Wishes of the committee.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Gregory, Pet Adoption and Welfare Services, page 34.
And this is what we got on personnel. Is that anything on the personnel?
This is where he's letting go of a full-time position.
Let's go back to those pages. Okay. Look on your sheet, page 3 of 3, back in tab number. Really, that's
It's behind your blue.
It's behind the blue.
The blue one.
And you can see that one animal control officer is being eliminated, and he is putting in place 3 part-time folks, an additional vet at 25 hours, a vet assistant at 28 hours, and a receptionist at 25 hours, all 3 of those being part-time. So the net effect of those 3 part-time compared to the 1 full-time and base pay is $37,653 more. Of course, we're probably saving some monies, I suppose, Lisa, on the, well, you've already got that figured up there, though, on the health insurance, et cetera. No, I guess we really, that is the total savings, is the
Yeah,
48,000. So that course of action is reflected in this budget over here. And the request is, the recommendation is $1,788,986, which is just about $5,000 or $6,000 more. And I don't think there's anything that I have done. There might be a few changes in those employee costs and the benefits, but other than that, I have accepted his request.
Mr. Gregory, you okay with the mayor's, you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, sir, I do.
Other wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. County Commission on page 1.
Recommendation is $259,720, and that's an increase over what we initially proposed of about $9,000, because I think one of our organizations, GNRC, I believe, there's an increase in our dues. So that's gone from 38,000 to 47,000, so that's where the increase is. Otherwise, it's the same as you have currently this year.
Motion to approve. Same as it's been for the last 20 years or something like that. We have a motion by Commissioner Pease.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. County Mayor.
Request $614,210. Really, it's a continuation budget, just with increases as appropriate from the salary tables. Nothing else has changed.
I take it you accept your recommendation.
I don't know what
Motion to approve the mayor's recommendation. You probably had the vice mayor fill this one out.
Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner P, I believe, is second on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Environmental, page 6.
Oh my goodness. That's just for a telephone, I guess, for communication for our
There's a phone line over in the where they did
office next door where we have
we have a
the
budget.
septic tank people.
We have a budget of $600.
$600.
We have a motion.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Payne. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Finance, page 10.
Page 10, the recommendation is $1,247,904. Again, the only difference in the request from them is, I think, reflected back up there in some of the, again, the salaries in totality with respect to our people after we got the actual numbers put in place from the table. Lisa, that's basically
Just that and
no people, right?
no people.
And she may want to explain to you what's
The 24,000 for
office equipment.
replacing cubicles in room 206.
That's just to improve those working conditions. All those people are stuffed in there together with no separation.
I accept the mayor's recommendation.
Well, then I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Bond. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Anything under other business?
No.
Yeah. We will meet here again a week from tonight to enjoy the continue the fun. And we'll meet also a week from Thursday, the 18th. Then our joint meeting with the school board and health and ed will be May 23rd at 5:30 at the school board central office. And if there's nothing else to come before us tonight, we are adjourned.